G-Shock just made 2 new watches that are the thinnest, lightest and smallest on the market. But are they any good? Let's get into it! Yes, and welcome to the Mad Watch Collector Show. Now, it is unfortunate that still to this day the best G-Shock ever made was the first one back in 1983. The rubberized resin square is an absolute icon and was born out of a lot of research regarding shocks and breaking watches. Now in 2024, G-Shock are introducing more and more new technology that can make them thinner, lighter and do more things. But is it a good thing? Today I'm going to show off 2 brand new watches that aren't reissues and they're tailored towards the smaller wrist or younger audience that like the idea of owning a G-Shock but think they're too big. Now you could not get 2 polar opposites when it comes to their designs. They were both around £100. I bought them from the G-Shock's website. But the big questions are, do I recommend them to you? Which one do I prefer? And what does the wife think? Are you G-Shocks ready? Let's go! So, introducing to you on the left is the GA2300 and on the right we have the GD-B500. Now there's a lot going on the left one, isn't there? It's quite hard to read. There is also supposed to be an LCD screen in there somewhere. 2 of them. I'm definitely attracted to the GD-B500 more. It looks like a G-Shock square that has been squished to fit in a bookshelf or something. Looks a bit off to me. However, that's the one I'm drawn to first. Straight off the bat, both of these watches are incredibly light. Not like the rest of my G-Shocks. This is because the company are utilizing more carbon plastic than the rubber resin. Apparently, it's much more stronger and tougher, and therefore these watches can be made slimmer. Now, for me, these watches feel more like Casio watches than G-Shocks. I like to feel the price I've paid in the watch. These don't feel like £100 digital watches. Anyway, let's concentrate on the GA2300. And although it does have similarities of that Casio, it definitely doesn't remind me of a G-Shock. And what the heck is this? It looks like a watch that is issued to those that have made it in the X-Men. That X is definitely the first thing I look at. It's textured, it's also faceted, and the only point of it being there is just to look good. In fact, the whole watch is more form over function. If I put this watch up against a Casio, which even that was difficult to read at times, you can see that this watch is far smaller, as well as the digital screens. And it starts to make the Casio legible. Anyway, we have this screwed in carbon plastic shell and what looks to be modular lugs that stick out from the case, and I can wobble them, I can move them about. This is definitely different to normal G-Shocks, and structurally it looks nowhere near as sound as your basic Gs. I mean, look at that. This is one of the first, if not the first, to have actual lugs where straps can be changed in and changed out. Yippee! Hold on, don't cheer too quick, because the lug width is 24 millimeters. What a weird dimension that is. I'm not a fan of it at all. It would have been quite cool if these lugs were a bit lower and looked like they were a part of the cross in the dial, and it's just not right for me. Now, even though I prefer the GD-B500 looks, we've still got these modular strap lugs that I can still wobble about. They have a nice texture to them, but you won't be able to put any old strap on these. Now, as I said, I'm not really a fan of the squashed, narrow square look. It gives the screen like this 3-tier effect, and it almost looks like I need to turn the watch on its side for it to look right. But I do love the greys, the blacks, and that textured fingerprint pattern on the modular lug part. Both watches are around 40 grams, pretty much similar to normal Casio watches. G-Shocks tend to be 60 and above grams, so I do get this budget watch feeling, whilst being £200 out of pocket. This is what a G-Shock strap should look like, yeah? So that if I was to drop it, it bounces back up. It's part of its protective system. Now with the GA23, you don't get that. And this is how most budget Casios come. I honestly feel like I could break this with my fingers. I could pull these apart and snap the lugs off. I feel like I can do the same with the GDB500 as well, with these modular lug hinges. But there is absolutely no way I could ever break a G-Shock strap from a case. Both watches don't feel like G-Shocks in my brain, nor do I think they could take an absolute beating like the majority of Gs I've got in my collection. Quick spec check! With the GA2300, we have got a 41mm diameter case. That is pretty unheard of in the normal G-Shock realm lineup. Unless you're getting a baby G, you don't get 41mm diameter Gs. It's 45 lug to lug and only 11.6mm thick. The GDB500 is also 41mm in diameter, 46 lug to lug, but is only 11mm thick on the dot, which gives it the title of the thinnest G-Shock currently in their lineup. Both watches are protected by a mineral glass and both have negative displays, which is a huge negative when it comes to the 2300, because it's hard enough trying to find where the screens are to then having to try and read the darn things. It's a ridiculous size, not practical in any shape or form. This watch's one saving grace is that the handset contrasts very well against this all black dial. Being G-Shocks, both of these watches have water resistance of 200 meters, meaning really you can wear these watches for any situation in life. If you want to read the time, however, maybe pick the B500. Now when it comes to features, for me, I think the winner again is the GDB500. This one is more a sports watch or a fitness one without the rubbish heart sensors and everything else. It has Bluetooth capability, but I certainly won't be connecting it to my phone. The basic features: stopwatch, countdown timer, dual time and 5 alarms. The LED backlight is very strong and very legible in the night times. This watch can record timings that you make on your stopwatch or your countdown timer and stores them on the watch and possibly on your phone. What I like most though is this module houses an accelerometer. Yeah. Marty, get back to the accelerator. Sounds like something Doc Brown has in his DeLorean. Long story short, it's a step counter, but being in a sporty job, I do like to see my steps without being attached to my phone. Very handy. Now with the 2300, on the dial you can see that we have an indicator showing us the day of the week. We've got running seconds at the bottom screen. We have a countdown timer. We have 5 alarms, world time and stopwatch. Also, if you do need to set the time on this watch and you keep your finger down on the adjust button, the hands do a lovely thing of moving away from the screen. I'm not 100% sure that this watch is bought really to tell the time. I feel like this is more a fashion accessory than an actual tool. I love all the different dynamics that are going on in the dial. I just don't think they should be used for watches. We do have an LED backlight. It basically just lights up the 2 screens. We do have loomed hands, but not loomed indices. Not really a watch for me. Hello. On my 6.5-inch wrist, and both of these watches do fit really well. I still prefer the GDB500, the way it sits and conforms to my wrist. I'm really not a fan of those funny ears, which are the lugs. It reminds me of those 8-bit aliens you find on the arcade machines. A watch that definitely cool kids would wear whilst using their phone to tell the time. Yeah, even though this does remind me of a G-Shock Square, it still looks modern, futuristic, almost like a wrist comm to a spaceship over there. But if I'm being totally honest, none of these are really going to take the time away from my GW5000U or my DW5600. But for anyone that hasn't got into G-Shocks yet and are a bit scared about the size of them, these are 2 great options for anyone that wants to dip their toes into the world of G-Shock. My advice, if you've got £100 to spend, you won't go wrong with buying this, the GMW 5610U. And while these are okay, the designs won't last and the references will probably be forgotten about in the next 5 years' time. Is the more new technology these companies use, the less I feel we're being given. Lighter, thinner, can take just as good a beating as a regular G-Shock? Apparently. The problem is they just don't feel like G-Shocks. But then is that me being an old fuddy-duddy? Fuddy-duddy-duddy. Yeah. Maybe. Still, these are 2 G-Shocks that go in my little collection. Might have to get another cabinet soon. Here it is, my wife's thoughts on both these G-Shocks. First of all, the GA2300. I don't know why, but I like it. It's given me movie vibes, like X-Men. Yes. I mean, I can't tell the time, but there are some good bits on here. And now the GDB500. This is boring. Haven't you got this already? Boring, bland, and get it away. Okay, so she likes the one I didn't like as much, but that's why we get on so much, you know, opposites attract, yeah? I'd love to know what your favourite one of the two of these G-Shocks are. Variety is the spice of life. As long as you don't want to read the time. What do you think about G-Shocks getting smaller, thinner and lighter? I feel like the less we get, the more we have to pay these days. Thanks for watching till the end. If you want a bit more of the Mad Watch Collector channel, click join, yeah. But if I've got you for a few more minutes, why don't you check this one out? Oh, G-Shock heaven! This is lovely. Watch this one, this is great. Go on, click it, you'll love it. Honestly, you'll, go on, click it. I haven't got a watch on, I haven't got all day. I haven't got a watch on, but click it. Click it!